What is up, YouTube? Mr. Keen coming at you live from the studio. Here is what we're learning today. We're going to learn some motion terms. Okay? So, as you go with me on this physics journey, you need to learn some key vocab to understand motion. Okay? The first word that you may have not heard before is called displacement. Okay? Displacement is the distance from the starting point of an object to the finishing point. Okay? Note, disclaimer here, it is not the same thing as distance. It can be, but a lot of times displacement is shorter. So this picture that I have here really demonstrates it perfectly. So if you take a route like a trail and it brings you all the way around, that is your distance. Your distance is the total that you travel or the total steps that you take. But displacement is just all displacement cares about is where you started and where you finished. And it's that distance. Okay, so displacement just refers to the start to the finish, that distance. Okay, so it's usually shorter than the overall distance. And I have a sample problem for you. If I take 5 steps to the left and 4 steps to the right, how many steps is my displacement? And what distance did I walk in steps total? Okay, pause video now. Try and figure out the displacement and then the total distance in steps. Okay, hopefully you noticed. You could have even tried it out yourself. If you take 5 steps to the left and then 4 to the right, every step that you take in the opposite direction will bring you backwards. So really you're going to be doing 5 minus 1, 5 minus 4, and you'll get 1. 5 minus 4 is the displacement, okay? Because it'll show you the overall distance from start to finish, okay? So to get the displacement, you do 5 minus 4, and you'll get 1. The total distance is all the steps. It doesn't care what direction. So it'll be 4 plus 5, so 9 steps. That's the total distance. Displacement shorter, so it's only 1. The next word I want you to know, a fancy word for speed. The reason why we use it in physics is because it's a little bit more specific. Okay? Velocity is the speed of an object and the direction. Okay? So please pause video now, get that definition down. Velocity is positive if you're moving forward or going up, okay? That'll make velocity positive. And what makes velocity different from speed is always positive, but velocity can be negative. Velocity is negative if you're going back or if you're going down. That's when we'll make velocity negative. And here's my practice problem for you. Homer Simpson backs into the bushes 6 meters away in 2 seconds. How fast is he going, and what is his velocity? Okay? Try and figure those two out right now. Pause the video and refer to the speed formula to figure out number 1. Hopefully you remember from my previous video, speed equals the distance, 6 meters, divided by the time, 2 seconds. So you do 6 divided by 2, and you get 3 meters per second. That's the speed, but remember, velocity is a little bit more specific. So velocity is going to be negative because you're going backwards. Homer's going back, so his velocity is -3. Okay? Please pause the video now and make sure you got the right answer. Next one, new word, acceleration. Okay? Acceleration is a change in velocity over time. And a lot of times when people think acceleration, they're thinking you're speeding up. But technically, acceleration can be speeding up or slowing down or changing direction. Those are all acceleration. So unlike this movie, the best Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, while these two characters are drifting, they're actually accelerating. Even if they're going the same speed, they're technically changing direction, so they are accelerating. So drifting counts too. Alright, great movie if you haven't seen it. Name drop there. Okay? And acceleration is typically positive when something speeds up, and it's usually negative if it slows down. Okay? It's hard to draw something slowing down, so I just have some zombies holding this guy back. Okay? Here's practice problem number 3. This is going to be the toughest one. Usain Bolt begins the race with a velocity of 0 meters per second, and at the end, he finishes with a velocity of 10 meters per second. What is his acceleration if he finished in 10 seconds? Okay, if you need the formula, acceleration, constant acceleration equals velocity, the final velocity minus the initial velocity. So get the difference of the two velocities and then divide by the time. And that'll get you the average acceleration of Usain Bolt. I'll give you a second. Please pause the video now and try and calculate it yourself. Hopefully you notice I gave you the two velocities. The final minus the initial, 10 minus 0 is 10. And then you divide by the time, 10 seconds. So 10 divided by 10 is 1 meter per second, and then squared. That's the second squared is because you divided by time. So that is Usain Bolt's average acceleration. Every second, he's getting 1 meter per second faster as he's picking up speed. Last word of the video is inertia. Inertia. Very fancy word. You'll sound really smart if you use it in conversation. Inertia is resistance to change in motion. Okay? So if something's heavier, it's going to resist changes in motion more. So like I have these two examples. There's a guy pushing a truck. The truck has a lot of inertia. Even if it's in neutral, it's going to take a lot of force to move it. Whereas this little toy car, it can still be in neutral, but it's not going to take very much force to move it. So the big truck, lots of inertia. The little car, not very much inertia. If you're heavier, you have more inertia because you're harder to move. Inertia is really just a property of things that are heavy. Here is the last problem. There's no math involved. Okay? You grab two metal balls and you want to test which one is heavier. You can't tell by looking at it, so you throw ball number 1 and it lands 20 meters away. You rest, try and get your energy back, then you throw ball number 2 and it lands 25 meters away. Which ball has more inertia and how do you know? Okay, please pause the video now and try and think about it. Which ball will have more inertia? Ball 1, which you threw 20 meters, or ball number 2, which you threw 25 meters? Okay, hopefully you remember inertia is resistance to change in motion. So whichever ball is resisting more is going to have more inertia and will be heavier. So knowing that, ball number 1 has more inertia because it's harder to throw far. You couldn't throw ball number 1 as far, so it's better at resisting change and it's heavier. Therefore, it has more inertia. Cool. That's the last thing. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with me the whole time. I hope that helps. Please like, comment, subscribe. Have a wonderful Tuesday.